Hey guys, it's Alex here from Hoops Island. I wanted to try a little something different. I've been covering the game a lot, writing analysis after the game, which, when they're playing at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., midnight on a Friday, it's really hard for a lot of people to watch the game. So I've been trying to do some analysis, but also want to switch up the mediums a little bit and try some video. So this is going to be my first shot at it. Please send me some feedback on it to see how it is, what you like, what you didn't like. If the quality is a little down, I can, I can work on it. So this is gonna be my first test run, so let's get it. So Team USA finished their exhibitions. They played 4 games, one of them being the blue-white scrimmage. They went 3-1 overall with the infamous loss to Australia on Friday. They recovered relatively nicely, a little 16-point win against Canada, and they also had victories against Spain and Australia the first time. So kind of watching them, I wanted to extract some main themes kind of from their performance, because despite the fact that we all came in knowing that this team was not going to be some of the older USA teams that we saw, it's not star-studded, doesn't have the best of the best, and we're going to go into this tournament, without the best player in the series. That's been said. And realistically, if you put together maybe the top 5 players of this series, there's a really big chance that USA might not even have a majority of those players. So this type of situation that we're walking into, the international field, despite the fact that some key guys are not playing, such as like Ben Simmons, Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Karl-Anthony Towns, despite some of those big stars not playing for international teams, there is a lot of talent overseas, and USA is going to have to work for this gold medal. This is not going to be a cakewalk. These games are going to be much closer, but ultimately what I want to kind of talk about is what USA can do better, because I think besides the fact that there's not this big talent disparity, there's things that they're doing now that aren't helping maximize their roster. So the first thing I want to get into is the assist to turnover ratio. So through these 4 games, the USA has 68 total assists and 63 turnovers. So per game, that is 17 assists per game with 15.7 turnovers. So right off the bat, it's almost like a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. These guys are not moving the ball the way they should. Lately, especially the last 2 games against Australia and then Canada, there was a lot more of isolation. There was a lot less of the shot profile that you want to see. There's a lot of guys pulling up for 17, 18 footers, a lot of guys trying to force shots that aren't there, a lot of guys trying to go one-on-one instead of like progressing through their offense and running through their sets and trying to find the best shot for the team rather than a good shot for that player. That's a little concerning, because those are the type of habits that could really cost you a game, as we've already seen. So one thing that they need to do is really clean up how they progress through their offense and get guys back to buying in, because we even saw, even from maybe the first game, it seems maybe that they decreased a little bit, because even in the first game against Spain, you saw them moving the ball a lot. You saw guys either like taking threes, getting to the rim, and that's how they're gonna win, because they do have the talent to come out and really like attack closeouts in that way. They have the athleticism to do that. Their guards have the athleticism to like get by their man and win those like very simple matchups that in the NBA maybe like you don't expect to win all the time. They have the ability to win those little things more times than not. Like if you could create a mismatch when it's Kemba versus a European big or whatever country, I'm not trying to discriminate, he's probably gonna win that matchup. But it's like you have to move to those progressions to get into those things, and I didn't see a lot of that from USA. And I also saw a lot of lackadaisical passes. There was one where Jaylen Brown caught the ball on the right block, just kind of didn't even get into like a triple threat to throw in the post entry pass to Brook Lopez. He just was kind of straight up and just threw it like it was whatever, and Kem Birch easily hit it. And it's that type of like a lack of focus that can really cost you when you're playing against these top tier teams like Serbia or even Australia, as we've seen, Spain when they come back, France. Those are the type of like little details that you have to be good at. So one of the first things that they have to clean up is becoming a more proficient half-court offensive team, and that starts with better ball movement. The second thing I wanted to hit on was Khris Middleton. Full disclosure here, right? I'm a Celtics fan. If you follow me, you know I'm a Celtics fan. What that means is I've never seen Khris Middleton miss a shot. Like, if you check the numbers, Khris Middleton kills the Celtics. So for me, when I saw him on the team, just naturally part of that, bias. When I've watched him the most and most closely, he's always performed extremely well. He's played to the best of his abilities. So when I saw him on this team, also considering he is one of the lone all-stars on this team. He just played for a 60-win Bucks win team that had a really great offense, and he was like the focal point with that, along with Giannis. I'm sorry, and hasn't looked great. Has not looked great at all. Overall, just his quick numbers right here. He's averaging in the 4 games 5.2 points per game, 4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, along with 2.5 turnovers. And his shooting splits right now are 34.6% from the field, 23% from 3, and 0% from the free throw line. He's only been there twice. So he's the guy that USA really is gonna need in some capacity to be a positive contributor. His box score, he's actually had really well box scores. He's been on the court while other people have been doing well. But personally, his specific outputs have not been great. He has not been shooting well. He has not looked aggressive. Even defensively, he has not been able to really do a good job fighting over screens and things of that nature. He's been part of the problem on that end. And, as a veteran and a guy who's maybe probably has, the biggest stature, because I mean, we could argue whether that's him or Kemba, but look, he's been in the playoffs more than Kemba. He has a bigger profile in that nature. So it's like, you would expected him to kind of be like along the top guys, and right now he has just looked like a guy who, quite frankly, like shouldn't be taking Joe Harris's minutes. I'm just gonna say that. Maybe shouldn't be playing over Derek White. Makes you wonder why they cut Kyle Kuzma. If he's gonna play like this. So I shouldn't go that far. These were exhibition games. He is a vet. He knows these are exhibition games. He might not be trying to impose his will to that extent right now. But yeah, Khris Middleton, we're watching. We are watching. So the final point I wanted to hit on now is something that's kind of I've noticed with the USA, and I'd say maybe this kind of goes back into the first point, but it's kind of like the lack of 3-point shooting. Right now they are shooting a good percentage through the 4 games rather. They have shot 38% from 3, so that's good, that's stellar. But this last game, and that kind of, again, I want to say that does kind of lead in from the first point about assisted turnovers. When you have that lack of ball movement, what happens is you don't get the 3-pointers that you want. And even though they won this last game at 16, they shot 2 of 14 from 3. My problem with that is that they only took 14 threes. That's not enough. That's an indicator that the ball was not moving well, because it's very hard to shoot one-on-one threes when someone isolates. Unless you're like a top guy like the James Hardens, the Dames, Stephs and stuff like that. It's very hard for players in an isolation situation to create a 3-pointer for themselves. And it's no different for the guys on these rosters. They're not guys who are gonna create pull-up threes and hit them at a high clip. The way to get the best shot profile for the team is for them to move the ball around so that they're able to hit threes, and that's a direct correlation. When you start seeing those low 3-point numbers for them, that's turning into an indicator that we should watch for. Okay, they're not moving the ball the best way that they should, and they need to start doing that. So yeah, and quick notes here. Donovan Mitchell had 5 turnovers against Canada, but I have noticed that after the first game, where he had no assists, he's been sharing the ball a little bit more. You kind of expect turnovers from guards, especially like you're playing with a new team, you're trying to create, you have the ball all the time. That's kind of excusable, but I've liked that, you know, he's starting to read the game and see that. For the Utah Jazz, that's something that they're going to want to see a lot of, like him trying to create for others and take that next step as seeing the game the right way. Jaylen Brown has surprised. You know, he's a guy who wasn't even invited to the original USA team, wasn't on the select team, nothing like that. Through injuries and guys calling out, he got on, and you know, right now he's doing well. He's averaging 15 points per game. He has 4.6 rebounds a game, and he's shooting 71.4% from the field. That's not including the blue-white scrimmage, but you know, those are just the games against the international competition. So he's a guy that's been trending up, and he's kind of, you know, turns out that like energy guy that they need. So those are the quick hits. I'll probably do a couple more of these as the tournament progresses, but you know, hit me up, link me, let me know how you like it and what I can do to be better. All right, thanks guys.